Race number 2 of the Players Limited Formula Atlantic Series from Toronto, Ontario. After a thrilling first race in Montreal, Quebec, all the drivers are back for more except Jacques Villeneuve, the fiery Quebec veteran. He led much of the race but spun out one too many times. Quebecer Stéphane Preux finished second to American Jim Vassar. This 1991 Atlantic Series already looked like it would be one of the best ever. Hello everyone, I'm Jerry Dobson and welcome to the Players Limited Formula Atlantic Series here in Toronto at the Molson Indy weekend. Joining me once again is Paul Chater, and Paul, this Formula Atlantic racing has been extremely competitive. The qualifying, unbelievable.
It's been fabulous to watch. The top 7 cars have qualified within 1.3 seconds of each other, and all 7 of those drivers got under last year's track record.
And some very strong efforts by our Canadians as well.
3 Canadians in the top 7. Stéphane Preux is qualified in 2nd place. He finished 2nd in Montreal. Claude Bourbonnais will be starting 3rd, and David Empringham, who had a disappointing race in Montreal, will start 7th.
Jim Vassar, the winner in Montreal, our first race of the series, is the pole sitter. Let's check now the starting grid.
With the Montreal win, Vassar is the current leader of the Players Limited Atlantic Series, but he's also leading in the U.S. Series. And here in Toronto, he's already set a track record in qualifying. But this former North American Formula Ford champion is not resting on his laurels.
It's going to be a real long race. I think there's going to be a good 6-7 car race at the front. We missed Jacques Villeneuve here. He has a little bit of credence to the series, but I think it's going to be a good race.
Beside Vassar on the front row is Canada's Stéphane Preux. This Formula 3000 star finished 2nd in Montreal in an unfamiliar rented car. Again, the car is rented, but Vassar's pole position does not scare Stéphane.
Maybe my car is not as quick, or maybe he drove a little better in the qualification. But when you're in the front row, anything can happen. And I'm more at ease this time with the car. I'm familiar with the car, and we have a better engine compared to Montreal. So I'm certainly sure this time Jim won't run away like he did in Montreal with a 12-second lead.
Canada's Claude Bourbonnais races in the World Sports Car Championship Series in Europe. In Montreal's Atlantic race, he finished 18th, but not before putting on a spectacular passing display, climbing as high as 8th before his car gave up. He finished 2nd here last year.
Anything can happen in the race, but right now I'm focused on getting my engine back, and that's the key for me to win the race right now. I need that engine. I noticed in qualifying this morning that I didn't have enough.
Jovi Marcello is from the Philippines. At this time, he's 2nd in the Toyota Atlantic Series in the States, but Jovi has never raced here before in Toronto. The cement walls of the course make him just a little bit cautious.
Most of these guys are saying you got to hold back and see what happens. I think the guys in front of me are just going to go for it, and I can't afford to let them pull away too far, so I'm going to try and stick with them, if not get by them.
Chris Smith is a brilliant new talent to keep an eye on. He hasn't got much money, but his father is here, famous racing engineer and author Carroll Smith. Chris has never driven here in Toronto before, and he knows there's lots of competition.
This race is a little longer than we're used to. Jim Vassar's been hard all year. Jovi Marcello, the Canadians, they're all tough. It's a very deep field here. A lot of guys running good, and it's going to be a good race, definitely.
Another American, Stuart Crow of Texas, is 6th on the grid. He finished only 16th in Montreal, but has been doing well in the current American Atlantic Series. He's never raced up here in Toronto, but he's not lacking in confidence.
I think it's a pretty easy circuit. It's not very difficult to learn. It's pretty straightforward, so I wouldn't say not being here before would be a very good excuse.
Canada's David Empringham is in 7th place. He's also racing in the Players Limited GM Motorsport Series, where he finished 2nd last year. Even though he didn't do well in the Montreal Atlantic race, here in Toronto, David beat the track record in qualifying along with the top 6.
We are pretty happy. The whole Obus Form team has worked really hard over the last month. We've got most of the quirks out of the car that frustrated us in Montreal.
And David has a CTV mini camera on board his car. Here's the rest of the field. John Tanner, he was 3rd in Montreal. Charlie Neerberg, one of the older racers here, could do very well. Also watch for Canadian Frank Allers. Mike Berg is from California. Rookie Rick Peterson is from Alberta. A really great group of talented racers are attracted to this Players Limited Atlantic Series this season. Race number 2 here in Toronto. Now, every year, just for one weekend, a racetrack magically appears in downtown Toronto, carefully carved out of Lakeshore Boulevard and the Exhibition Fairgrounds.
As temporary circuits go, most of the drivers agree that this Toronto Indy circuit is one of the finest in North America. But something they always have to keep in mind are these concrete walls. There is no room to make a mistake on this track. Now, it doesn't scare the drivers in terms of having to muster up bravery to get through a corner quickly. What does scare them is how much it could cost if they hit one of these walls. It could mean the difference between going to the next race and staying home. Let's have a look at the circuit now. 1.78 miles long and 11 turns. This is down the Lakeshore Boulevard. It's a public street 7 days a week, 363 days of the year. Down 3 gears into this very tight right-hander, and then up a short hill. The track's very bumpy in spots here. Up a gear, then down. Hard on the brakes for this left-hander, immediately followed by a long sweeping right-hander. This corner is very tricky. You see they tuck in close to the wall once, twice, and a third time before heading out onto this short straight towards the bridge. A blind, very fast left-hander. You see he didn't even lift off the throttle. Now into a good passing zone here into this right-hander. Down 2 more gears, up through the gears, and quickly back out onto the start-finish straight.
A very hot weekend as the cars waiting on the grid for the race start. A huge crowd waiting for the green light. We're just about set to go, and there we are. We are underway here in Toronto.
Formula One style standing start as Jim Vassar gets a jump on everyone. Chris Smith in the yellow car, number 24, dives to the inside to try to pick up a position from Claude Bourbonnais. See the cars streaming through turn 1, a very dangerous point in the race. Some cars running off in the loose marbles on the outside and inside of the track. It can be tricky. There's Chris Smith in the yellow car, number 24, putting a pass on John Tanner down the Lakeshore Boulevard. And there, out front, Jim Vassar and Stefan Prue, number 65, behind him.
Jim Vassar in the yellow car just went through your screen in the lead. The red car of Prue, he's in second. Another yellow car, that is Chris Smith running in third place.
Cars through, wow, we almost had one back marker up against the wall coming through the hairpin as the cars are streaming through, trying to get themselves collected. Meanwhile, Vassar is starting to pull out a lead and a slide from Stefan Prue in the red car. Watching now to see how Claude Bourbonnais is doing. There he is in car 04, the light blue car. Big slide through that corner.
So a tough corner there, as it seems to be, as a couple of cars had trouble with that one, but no problem so far. That dangerous standing start, but everybody's still on the track, and we look okay so far. Jim Vassar of California is your leader in yellow car number 36. There goes Prue in the red car, and then Smith in another yellow car. That was Prue that just went by. There comes Chris Smith. John Tanner is running in fourth.
Look at the lead that Vassar has now, and there's Prue. He's stretched out his lead in second place, and it looks to me like Chris Smith is holding back John Tanner just a little bit. There, David Embringham and Claude Bourbonnais nose to tail it through the first corner.
So Jim Vassar, there's a look at Bourbonnais in the blue car.
He's setting up David Embringham for a pass. We can see Bourbonnais has tucked right in there. Embringham's wing, car number 14, Embringham down the Lakeshore Boulevard. Watch for a pass here. Bourbonnais is in his slipstream. He pulls out, slingshots by, hard on the brakes, out braking. We can see from David Embringham's point of view now as Bourbonnais slides through the corner, and David gave him the necessary room to make that pass.
So a textbook move by Claude Bourbonnais. So after 4 laps, the top 5 racers are Vassar, Prue, Smith, Tanner, and Marcello. We'll be back in just a minute. The Players Limited Formula Atlantic Series is brought to you by Yokohama Performance Radial Tires. From Toronto, Ontario, we're back with round 2 of the Players Limited Formula Atlantic Series. This is lap number 7. There is Jim Vassar in the yellow car in the lead, followed by a couple of back markers. Stefan Prue is in second spot. He's not in your picture. Third is Chris Smith right there. And fourth is John Tanner in the dark car right behind him. And Smith has to be concerned about the walls on this tight course.
You have to mind those concrete walls because they're not going to move. And to get a good lap in, you've really got to concentrate here.
And now Smith, well, he's got another problem because there goes John Tanner in the dark car right behind him.
Beautiful pass into this right-hander off the straight next to the Gardner Expressway. Tanner, car number 93, there's Chris Smith, number 24 behind him, and Smith is now under attack from behind. He's got Stuart Crow in car number 3 behind him.
So some interesting moves here. John Tanner overtaking Chris Smith. Here comes Tanner, and there is Smith in the yellow car just being passed for third spot. Tanner is now in third. Up ahead is Prue, and up ahead of Prue is Jim Vassar. But there goes Tanner, and there is Smith in the yellow car.
Down the Lakeshore Boulevard, there's Jovi Marcello in the white and blue car number 1 on the left-hand side, and Stuart Crow on the right-hand side going down the straight, attempting to pass Jovi on the outside. This is a really strange maneuver. Marcello figuring he's got the track blocked, but it didn't work. Stuart Crow just powered out on the outside of him down the straightaway and has picked up a position, is now after Chris Smith in car 24.
Jovi Marcello has come a long way to race in Toronto from the Philippines, and he's doing well. He finished 4th in Montreal. Jovi wants to race Indy cars, but he's happy in the Players Limited Atlantic Series.
This is a very good training ground for Indy cars because they're basically the same design car, and we use ground effects just like Indy cars, and it's a very competitive series, just like Indy cars too.
Pick up the race again. There goes Chris Smith in the yellow car. He's currently in 4th. He doesn't look to be doing too well here right now, as both Crow and Marcello are gaining on him, it appears.
Down the front straightaway, he seemed to lose a little bit of power. They're heading out onto the Lakeshore Boulevard now. There's Crow in the white and blue car. And Chris Smith, number 24, he's moved to the inside. He's checking his mirrors. He's lost a lot of power. There goes Crow and Jovi Marcello right by him.
So Smith in the yellow car, there you can see he's losing it badly. Crow in the blue car, number 3 right there in front of you, has gone by. Marcello in the white car is by. Chris Smith in big trouble in that yellow car. In fact, he's almost stopping.
He's parking it. He's picked a dangerous place to park it. No, he's not parking. He's just allowed a couple of other competitors through, and he's going to continue on slowly. There's our leader, Jim Vassar, way out front in the blue and yellow car, the Craco machine, number 36.
Jim Vassar, there he goes in the yellow car, and a look at, that's Claude Bourbonnais in the pits, so his day looks like it's over.
Looks like he's having problems with his brakes, and there's Chris Smith hopping out of his car in the pit lane.
Meanwhile, Jim Vassar in the yellow car in the lead. Stefan Prue in a red car is in behind. Actually, there's a back marker there, the white car, but behind that back marker is Stefan Prue in a red car. He is currently in 2nd spot. You can just see him at the top of your screen there. There comes Stefan Prue, and then it looks like another back marker, or is that, yeah, that's another back marker in behind Prue. Stefan Prue, a good look at him running in 2nd place. And you know, in this series, like any racing series, it takes lots of money, loads of money. And Stefan Prue is a classic example of how to get it.
Hanging around most of these pits, you'll hear words like slip angles, gear ratios, and aerodynamics. But you listen a little closer, you'll hear some other buzzwords like marketing objectives and impressions per thousand. Because the reality of Formula Atlantic racing today is that it costs between $10,000 and $20,000 per race. And you can't only be a fast driver, you have to be a fast talker. And part of that is putting a kit together like Stefan Prue has done, all on his own. He designed this, he wrote it, and he bangs on the doors with it to find the money. Fortunately for him, he got a sponsor this weekend in Sony of Canada. But he's going to start all over again Sunday night after this race, looking for more money.
What sponsors are looking for is a good driver and someone that can represent the sponsors well. I think that's very important today in the racing because it's a sport when you're in a race car, but it's also a big business. You have to be able to associate with the corporation that you're with in the first class way. And that's what I'm trying to do. But I think the result will speak for itself. And when you're first, people like to associate with a #1 driver.
There he is, number 2 right now. He's in 2nd spot in the red car behind Jim Vassar. That's a back marker, that white car in front of Prue. He doesn't need to worry about him. He wants to get by him, obviously, and try and chase down Jim Vassar, who is currently leading this race. Or is he? He's got a problem. There's Vassar. He's out of control.
Vassar's into the wall. He's done severe damage to the right side of the car. You can see the right side suspension is caved in. The bodywork's gone. He's probably done equal damage to the front right side suspension. He's out of it.
And so, a big change here on lap 10. Stefan Prue in front with Tanner and Crow behind. Jovi Marcello 4th. 5th is Mike Berg. We'll be back with more in a moment. Back with more, the Players Limited Formula Atlantic race here in Toronto. There is the car of Jim Vassar. He is out of this race after leading. A look now on replay, an overhead look. Watch the bottom left corner of your screen. There's where it happens.
It looked like Vassar moved to the inside to go around a back marker, but he was too anxious to get back on the line again, and he clipped the front of the car he was passing. It's a crucial mistake that could cost him the lead in this championship.
Might cost him the lead. It's definitely cost him this race. He is now out of it. The car is back on the track. There's the red car of Stefan Prue, your new leader. They are all now warming up their tires, getting set to race again. So Jim Vassar has found out that even when you're way out in front, passing slower cars is always a hazard.
I was going around a back marker, and it's unfortunate maybe he didn't see me. His car was sputtering and missing, and I went by him and turned into my right rear. And, you know, maybe I was should have waited a little longer, but I thought he saw me, and his car wasn't running good. And it's just one of those things. It's really unfortunate.
And so we're just about set to go again. The cars are speeding up. There's Stefan Prue going through in that red car, waiting for the flag again, and we are underway, racing one more time.
Boy, Prue got his boot in it early. You can see the lead he already has on the rest of the field heading into turn one. Stefan Prue in the red car out front. Stuart Crow, blue and white car number 3, running in second place down the Lakeshore Boulevard.
So Stefan Prue, look at the lead he has on Crow there. Prue in that red car is way out in front. Crow in the blue car right behind him. Looks like John Tanner is now chasing Crow.
Upwards of 160 miles per hour down the Lakeshore Boulevard. There's Prue in the red car, 65 out front. Stuart Crow running in second, and John Tanner in the black car in third. There goes Joey Marcello around some back markers. Mike Berg in the white and blue car number 9 running behind him. We can see how difficult traffic is from David Empringham's viewpoint.
A look from David Empringham and a little bit of somebody braking ahead of him there, I guess, caused that.
Oh, and weaving back and forth. And two cars bumping together, their tires rubbing. Empringham backed right off the throttle. You can see that he's lost a couple of positions because of that. He had to go down a gear to get his speed back, so he's going to have to pick his way through the traffic again.
The leader, Prue, here in the 17th lap. The blue and white car of number 3, Stuart Crow, not far behind. Crow started this race in 5th. He loves this Players Atlantic Series.
It's the most competitive Formula Series in this continent. I believe the depth of field is better than the Indy cars, and there's just more guys that could win the race in this race than in any other Formula Car Series you're going to have.
There goes Stuart Crow, and here's another car with trouble. That's Joey Marcello. He has spun out.
He was running in 4th, but even though he didn't hurt his car, he's lost at least 7 positions. It'll be very difficult to recover from that spin. But the race is only half over, but he does have flat-spotted tires as a result, so he's going to feel like he's driving on nickels now.
Canadian Frank Allers there in the blue car, started 13th. He's 9th now as we have his point of view, the dangerous walls on this demanding course. Miniature CTV cameras were mounted on the sides of several cars to give us this very unique shot. The Sony Handycam is just the same as a home movie camera, but it takes hours to install on the Formula Atlantic cars. The wide-angle lens and Sony recorder can withstand the high levels of vibration the race cars produce. Camera angles and exposure settings are double-checked on TV monitors before the race. Where are the bugs? Well, there's a special automatic lens cleaning system to clear oil and insects from in front of the tiny camera every few seconds. Here's Stefan Prue on lap 22. He's out front, an open track in front of him. Hot on his tail should be the blue and white car of Stuart Crow, and Crow, it looks like he's gaining on him.
And Prue has to be watching his mirrors. Indeed, Stuart Crow is gaining on him. Through the right-hander just before the entrance to the pit lane, down the front straightaway, there is a flat-out left-hand turn right here in the middle of the straight. It's a frightening corner. Into turn number 1, hard on the brakes. Prue using the middle of the track to try to thwart a pass from Stuart Crow, which is no doubt coming. Crow is setting Prue up. You can see how close he is to him down the Lakeshore Boulevard now.
What a challenge for Stuart Crow. He's never raced here in Toronto, and look at him. There he goes. What a great shot.
On the outside again. He did this earlier in the race. I didn't think it was possible to pass on the outside on the Lakeshore Boulevard going into the hairpin, but he's done it again, this time to Stefan Prue. He must have a lot of horsepower.
Stefan Prue, though, is not letting him get away. He tucked in behind just as they moved off Lakeshore, so he's still right there with him. But Stuart Crow, who has never raced here, now in front. Stefan Prue has already won in this track before. So after 21 laps, it's Prue, Crow, Tanner, Berg, and Nürburg. And we'll be back with more in just a moment. Stefan Prue's mother, Monique, a former driver herself, watching as the Players Limited Atlantic race here in Toronto continues. Her son is chasing Stuart Crow. There is Crow in the 3 car, the blue car. Right behind is a back marker, and then it's Stefan Prue in the red car.
Prue desperately trying to keep up. He's passing on the inside. Stuart Crow in command of this race. I was surprised how easily he went around Stefan Prue a few laps ago, and it's obvious from this viewpoint that Prue is having to work very hard to keep up. He's throwing his car all over the racetrack.
So the complexion and the storyline here has really changed in this race. We weren't expecting great things, I guess, from Stuart Crow, but he's in great position now to walk away with this race.
But there's still a lot of competition behind him. Here's the fight for 6th place. Number 17, Charlie Nürburg in the white car. Steve O'Hara, number 8, and Mike Berg running in car number 9 right there, right behind him. Now, they've been battling nose to tail, swapping positions back and forth throughout the race. This Players Limited Atlantic Series is definitely competitive.
So quite a story here. Stuart Crow of Texas leading the race. Charlie Neerberg of Texas as well, currently in 4th position. So this is really developing into a Texas race here with Stefan Prue trying to fight them off. Crow out in front by quite a margin now of Stefan Prue. There is Crow in the blue car, number 3. Stefan Prue in the red car. And there's Tanner. And it looks like he's getting passed by Neerberg right there.
Another Texan, Charlie Neerberg, number 17, moves on the inside very easily down the front straightaway, and he's pulling away from Tanner on the Lakeshore Boulevard. The Texans have really got it their own way today in this 40-plus heat.
So Neerberg has moved into 3rd position, so only Stefan Prue stands in the way of a 1-2 finish for Texans here. There's Neerberg in the white car, just went out of your screen.
And Steve O'Hara, number 8, goes by John Tanner. Tanner has got a problem with the black car. He's slowing down.
So troubles for John Tanner. Stefan Prue continues to run well in 2nd place, but ahead of him, there's the leader, Stuart Crow in that blue car. There's Neerberg.
And there's O'Hara in car number 8 trying to keep up as well. Neerberg has really put on a charge late in the race, so we've got a car into the wall.
Another car into the wall. In fact, you can see his nose cone just up ahead of the car. There it is off to the right side. So this guy, whoever he is, his day is over.
Well, he's peeled back the left suspension on the car as well. Let's have another look at it. Coming through right behind Stefan Prue there in the red car. The accident happened. He's hit the wall, and he's moved the tire wall out from the concrete wall, so that presents a hazard to the other drivers.
And so we are now under the yellow again. Now, this race is supposed to be 40 laps, but apparently it looks as though they're going to decide that since we're under time constraints here as well, that they'll likely have to end this race under the yellow. And indeed, that is what will happen. They'll end this race under the yellow after 37 laps, and so Stuart Crow cruises to victory. Stuart Crow of Texas will take the checkered flag. You can see it there. It'll be Stefan Prue in 2nd place. The cars have no choice here now with the yellow, with the caution flag out, so there it is. Stuart Crow is your winner. What an unexpected turn of events here. And is this guy excited or what? Stuart Crow wins the race here in Toronto. Prue finishes 2nd. Neerberg is 3rd. 4th is Steve O'Hara of Laguna Hills, California, with Mike Berg finishing 5th. David Empringham is 6th. And Stuart Crow also wins the $500 Yokohama Now You've Got Control Award. Racing journalists picked Crow as the driver who got the most out of his car during the race here, driving on an unfamiliar track and working steadily up from 6th to 1st. Congratulations to Stuart Crow.
There's Crow in the middle on the victory podium. The Texans did well today. With the humid X, it was over 40 degrees Celsius.
It was a good drive. No, I was always worried that Stefan was there. He's very good, but the Wyndham Hotel Swift came home first, so we're very pleased.
Being a Texan help in this heat?
Oh, it always helps to be a Texan.
Were you just out horsepowered?
Not exactly. I think he drove a good race. He seemed to have a little bit better horsepower in straight line. And my brake pedal seemed to be a little soft. I didn't want to take any chance on the braking. And, you know, he drove great, but I hate that it ended that way on a yellow flag.
Well, a strange race here, Paul, almost from the moment we started, and an unfortunate day for the pole sitter, Jim Vazur.
And Jim Vazur, and for Claude Bourbonnais, I don't think anyone would have made Stuart Crow an odds-on favorite, but a good day for Stefan Prue finishing 2nd. He may just find the money he needs for the next race.
Okay, and so that's just about it from the Players Limited Formula Atlantic race here in Toronto, and don't forget to join us next time for back-to-back races in Calgary. And so for Paul Chater, this is Jerry Dobson saying goodbye from Toronto. And the Players Limited Formula Atlantic Series is brought to you by Yokohama Performance Radial Tires.